So on second thought, sorry, I thought I'll try and use one of his slides. Actually, I'm going to focus slightly differently. I've had some wonderful clinicians speaking before me, and I'm a non-clinician. So I'm going to talk about some different ideas of how IT can be an enabler. Let me go back to, and I'm actually an old timer into IT. I have something like 27, 28 years experience in IT world, and only 2+ years in healthcare. So I'm going to talk about a little about my IT experience to start with. And I'm not going to use most of the slides. So let me tell you what happened in, when I started my career. I was a programmer. I started working on a machine which was a huge machine, which actually was in a data center which was as big as this. And that was called a Burroughs machine. And we were not allowed entry in that machine. Okay? Very few people were allowed entry, and the batch process were run, and we used to work on it. Then suddenly, after 2 years, we had the PC. The first PC came in, and I had the privilege of getting access to the first PC, which was as old as 84, 85 is what I'm talking about, when I got the first PC to work on. And there were only 1 or 2 PCs in a company like TCS, where I was at that time. And I did have the privilege to work on that. And then we got servers, and then we came up with the concept of data centers for every building. Then we came up with a concept of data center which were hosted, and today we're talking in terms of a cloud. So this is how the IT industry has evolved over the last a lot of years. There's a learning which has happened, and why did this evolution happen actually? This happened because even in IT, the number of people who were required was much more than what the availability was. Today, of course, there's number of people in IT is huge, but number of people who were required in IT to manage the show was much higher than what was available in the market at that time. So people came up with some different ways to get the productivity, to save the manpower, to be able to allow the doctors to be available everywhere, doctors of IT to be available everywhere, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going back to a wonderful slide that we saw, that we really don't have doctors in Africa as compared to the number of people who are required. So how do we solve it? Some learnings is what I want to actually come up with, when it comes to the parallel of IT to healthcare. So today, when I have something like a data center concept or a hosted cloud kind of a concept, I save on power. I save on people. I need only one server resource for some 200 or 500 servers. Okay, I need only one network resource for 500 network devices, and so on and so forth, right? So there is a massive saving which comes in terms of people by this concept of combining or allocating or putting things together at one place. Just a thought, we've never thought of such thing in healthcare. Okay, can that happen? Can IT help in there? Can I have all my ICUs? Today, typically, when I come to ICUs and every critical care areas, I typically have around 4 doctors or 5 doctors on duty all round the clock. I have some 20 nurses round the clock duty. Can IT help in effectively using those healthcare professionals? Okay, somehow. And just a thought, which I thought I'll just start off with. So I'm going to talk about, so that was just a thought, and I'm sure we can all talk about it more. And, I don't have a solution right now, but I do have some thoughts here, and we can deliberate there to solve the problem which is really hitting all of us, which is how do we get more doctors really where we want, and how do we optimize the use of doctors really, which is the need for today. And believe me, whenever there are SMEs, we will not have enough SMEs, so we need to find out some innovative way to use those SMEs in more effective way. And that's what IT did once upon a time, and can healthcare do that? However, as I was speaking to Doc, I said I am going to talk about how I'm going to talk about only 2 areas. How ICT can help at the point of care, and also talk about how IT can help in improving the productivity and improving the TATs, which is total turnaround time. And of course, I have these wonderful slides from Sanjeev, which actually is talking about that. So that's the thought I thought I'll just pick up these slides from you. I totally agree, and we had Karan speaking about garbage in, garbage out, which is also a reality. So how can IT enable or come up with tools so that doctors actually have the time to do it, time to do the data entry? Uh, I live in the doctors community, and one of the things doctors tell me is that, Neena, at least in Max, we have maybe spending at least 10 minutes per patient, but when we go to hospitals like AIMS or bigger hospitals, they say that, Neena, we have 3 minutes or 4 minutes per patient. How do you expect us to do data entry when we have only 3 minutes per patient? So how do you solve for that? I mean, you're talking about big things like EHRs and things like that, but then how can doctors at the end of it do it when the expectation from doctor is to do this much? So clearly, can ICT be a support there? Or can process management be done so that ICT really comes out as a support there? Some thoughts, and I'm going to share some thoughts here, and we could debate out that. Uh, Typically, in going back to manufacturing, okay, a couple of years back, and I'm going to talk about again 25 years back type, uh, there were hardly any cars in this country. So buying a car here, some of us are as old as, when we've seen the state that there were very few cars on the streets. And even though the roads have become bigger, we have too many cars, and again, the roads have choked. So why did this revolution happen? Because earlier, manufacturing every car used to take a lot of time. People came up with a concept of production line where there was one person who was fixing the body, there was another person who was fixing the tires, there was another person who was fixing the engine, and so on and so forth. So we had people who were specializing in a specific area, and there was a production line created, and everybody got the benefit of the specialty of that particular line. And with the production line concept created, we were able to actually create much more car in the same area and improve the productivity. Can something similar happen in healthcare? I haven't seen that happening in healthcare. I've seen that happening only in some departments, but not all departments. So for example, if I have only a little cold, can I just get some advice from a nurse who is then able to direct me to a doctor and solve for it? Or can I have some knowledge management systems, okay, which help me to guide me to appropriate doctors so that actually things can happen faster? So I'm trying to talk totally differently, okay? Let me talk about another issue to solve the problem of the number of doctors. I'm a mother, and I know when my children were small, actually I behaved like a doctor for my children. And I believe me, for all the ladies sitting here, and actually even the father sitting here, all of you